President Trump giving Russian President Vladimir Putin a 50-day deadline to end the war. The president is threatening 100% secondary tariffs on Russia's trade partners if a deal is not reached. This goes right to China, right to India. If you buy oil from Russia and this war is still going on, you'll face the 100% tariff. It comes on the heels of the president making a deal with NATO countries for our European allies to buy billions of dollars in American weapons from our U.S. makers and distribute those weapons to Ukraine. Interesting deal the president has come up with. Joining me now is Fox News senior strategic analyst. He's chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane, back with us. General, great to see you. You predicted a deal just like this on Sunday Morning Futures over the weekend. You predicted it. It actually materialized. Your reaction to what the president is doing here?
Well, certainly this is a major turning point, Maria, in the relationship between the United States and Russia, and also the United States' relationship to the war itself. I mean, frankly, President Trump has tried for a very long time, several months, to get a diplomatic deal with Putin, just to simply go to a 30-day ceasefire, and could not get that. And he recognizes that that's likely not going to happen unless he takes some pretty tough action. And that tough action begins with the weapons and the ammunition. And clearly the thing that he wants to do, get these weapons in the hands of the Ukrainian military to protect themselves, to help successfully defend against Russia's offensive operation, which they've been doing remarkably well at, but they need to be strengthened. And secondly, and in particularly, protect the citizens of Ukraine who are being every single night attacked through the air. And we've seen the scale and magnitude of those attacks day in and day out, and the casualties that are being produced. So those are the two major things that is happening militarily. And then he wants to keep the American taxpayer out of this, no longer pay for any of this. And that is why the deal with NATO countries, they will buy those weapons from the United States and then give them to Ukraine or sell them to Ukraine, depending on what Ukraine's funding capabilities are and what the particular weapons are. Major turning point in the war, and something Putin will pay a lot of attention to. And then the second thing is a warning. Crippling sanctions and tariffs are coming if you don't come to the negotiating table and work a deal with me. So, yes, a turning point in the war has taken place here, and I think it's very welcome based on the realities of where we are with Putin and Russia.
Yeah, and it's a twofer. Because it's not just, sending the weapons to Ukraine, but it's our NATO allies buying them from the United States. So that's a twofer that puts America first, right in step with President Trump's agenda. But look, I don't want to be around to find out what happens next if, in fact, this war is not over in 50 days. The last time the president made such a threat was to Iran, giving them a 60-day period to actually come to the table and stop the attacks on Israel. And look what happened there. Iran is holding talks today with Russia and China, General, on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. They're seeking support following the U.S. strikes on the nuclear sites, Iran vowing retaliation if the UN Security Council imposes any further sanctions on Iran, like halting Tehran's nuclear development. This is an Iranian crowdfunding campaign claims they've raised more than $40 million as a reward for assassinating President Trump. The Secret Service responding, quote, "We operate in a heightened and very dynamic threat environment, and the safety and security of the president and all of our protectees remain our highest priority." General, what do you think about this?
Well, a couple of points there. First of all, on the snapback sanctions, as they're so-called, when the deal was formulated 10 years ago in 2015, the signatories to the deal, the United States, the UK, Germany, France, China, and Russia, put into the deal that if Iran didn't comply with the deal, any one of those member countries, not all of them collectively, just any one of them, could start snapback sanctions on Iran in not conforming. Iran is not conforming to the deal. It's unlikely China and Russia would take any action against them, obviously. The United States is no longer a part of the nuclear deal or the so-called JCPOA, but Germany, France, and the United Kingdom are. Any one of those countries prior to October, could begin the snapback sanctions, which would have significant impact on Iran. They want no part of that. So that's where we're facing, and hopefully that gets done. The second thing you're mentioning is the threat against President Trump. There is a website called the Blood Covenant. It was formed by an Iranian national citizen who used to work for their propaganda network, that have people come to that website and donate funding, supposedly raising about $40 million. I'm skeptical about all of that, because this is a person who's in charge of propaganda for the government at one point.
Yeah.
And to threaten to use that as a reward for somebody to assassinate the president. We know Iran has a history of desiring to assassinate the president. That means our counterintelligence network, their antennas are up, Maria, in dealing with this. And this is just another indicator. This isn't a plot that's taken place and the counterintelligence agency is concerned about it. This is a propaganda machine. They'll look at it, they'll watch it, and see if anything materializes as a result of it. Listen, as we all know, there's been 2 serious attempts made on President Trump's life. The Secret Service and our counterintelligence agencies are completely focused on protecting the president here.
Yeah.
And we've learned a lot from the debacle that took place, certainly in Butler. And we, in terms of our government agencies, and I'm confident they're all over this, as well as the general threat from Iran.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I didn't know how serious to take this, because the Iranians have talked about putting a target on the president's back now for years. They did so with Mike Pompeo. They also did so with Benjamin Netanyahu. I asked the Prime Minister of Israel about it this last week. Watch this.
The Iranian regime put another fatwa on the back of President Trump. And they said that they are calling on Muslims to take down President Trump. How serious should we be taking this?
Fully. They just did that in the last few days. And by the way, President Trump and me. I think the price on our heads is somewhat different, I have to say, naturally. No, I'm not joking. I think this is very serious. They mean it. They are threatening to murder him and murder me. But this is the kind of people we're dealing with. They're enemies of America. They're enemies of everything we stand for. They want to throw the world back into a terrible era, sort of a primitive and violent dark Middle Ages, and the people of Iran deserve better.
Meanwhile, the ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas seem to be dragging. Hamas made all these new demands. They rejected the latest deal, saying the discussions are on the verge of collapse. Do you expect, real quick, General, do you expect a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas?
Well, certainly we're hoping so, but usually these things are tough to come by, largely because Hamas. The major dispute is over where should the Israeli troops be during the 60-day ceasefire. The Israelis want to maintain a corridor, the Marak corridor north of Rafah, outposted east to west, straight across the peninsula of Gaza. And Hamas wants all the troops to withdraw to the periphery of Gaza. That's the major impediment. There's a couple of other more minor ones. It remains to be seen. Hamas is the stumbling block here for sure.
All right, we'll leave it there. General, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Yeah, great talking to you, Maria, as always.
And to you, General Jack Keane.